Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Well, today I'm sitting here on garden bed number 6, which might look like the zinnia and marigold bed, but this was my garlic bed. And I've taken all my garlic out, and I'll give you a look at it in a minute. It's just sitting in my cold frame, drying out. It wasn't a great harvest this year. I got a little overzealous when I was planting my garlic and just jammed it all in there after miscalculating how much I needed for this size of bed. But I do have a few nice bulbs, but it really was maturing quickly this year and drying out quickly, and I'll show you, I'll take you over there, I'll let you have a look at it. But my plan now for this bed is, it's really sunken down, so I'm going to add some bags of steer manure into it. So I'm going to work some of that in. And then I have some seed potatoes that I potted up about a month ago now, and I want to get them in the ground. So I had some seed potatoes that were getting pretty soft, and I had kind of two options. I could stick them in, like the refrigerator or somewhere to try and slow them down a little, or I could pot them up. And I thought, well, I'll pot them up because I could see the garlic was moving along quickly. So I'll pot them up in some small pots, and then I can just transplant them out into the garden to continue to grow on for later. So I've never done this before. It's going to be a little bit of an experiment, but I don't see why it shouldn't work, and I thought I'd bring you along for it. So let's go over, have a quick look at the garlic, and then we'll come back and get the bed ready and plant these potatoes up. On our way to the cold frame, just look at all the nasturtiums. They just love these pots. I've never been good at nasturtiums, and since I started putting them in these pots, they've been doing so well for me. These are the pots I have my peppers and tomatoes and eggplant in, but look at the nasturtiums. Just loving them. And some of them smell so nice too. Okay, so into the cold frame. You can see I have lots of garlic sitting here. And I forgot to look up the varieties before I came out. So, and I'm not sure I even have them divided. I'm not sure I even have them divided properly, but this, I think, is the stuff that I had from my own saved seed. And I think that's a music garlic. That's my guess. It wasn't named when I had bought it a few years ago. So this is what I had replanted off my own bulbs. And I think this is that because if I remember, they were kind of a purpley hue garlic. And I just kind of planted them around the edges of the bed and then sprinkled a few in through the rest of the garlic. And so most of these they're purple on their wrapper or kind of purple up the stem. There's just different things that made me think this might be that garlic. You can see though how the wrappers are deteriorating. That's dependent on the leaves that are dried out. And you can see this one has a lot of leaves drying out on it, even though it hadn't developed a good neck yet. This was huge cloves of garlic when I put it in. This one like popped a baby off the side, but didn't develop a really good head. But it has formed cloves, so that's good. Here's another one here. There's cloves started. It's just not huge, but they're not a bad size. These turned out all right. And then this was some of that as well. I don't know if you see this slight purple tinge here. And I think I have a few others mixed in from another variety, but these turned out, like I have a few that are really nice size. Again, nothing huge, nothing like last year's harvest, but certainly usable. So I try to wait for, 2 to 3 leaves up the stem to be dry And these I let go a little bit longer than that, just trying to get them to size up a bit. But you can see again, this one started to split the covering. When they start to split like that, they don't store as well. There's more over here. This again, this is another variety again. So I'll try and get the variety names up on the screen. I do have them in the house. I just forgot to check, and I don't remember from last fall. But again, some decent sized bulbs here. These were some of my larger from that batch. These were at the back of the bed. And the ones on the second shelf I showed you, and these in this basket here were from the kind of the front of the bed. In the front of the bed, I had a lot not come up. So that's where all the zinnias and the marigolds are. It was easy to plant those in there because a lot of the garlic did not come up. These are all hardneck variety. You plant them in the fall here in the prairies, and they'll overwinter just fine, even in zone 3, which I'm in, and come up. So the ones that I got out of this, most of them are decent. I do have a few smaller, but most of them are what I would consider a decent size, and they have nice cloves in them. And these actually, I think I had the least amount of splitting on the skins. Oh, I can see this one split a bit here. I need to spread this basket of them out a bit more to dry better, but I just have them tried to kind of layer them out. This one's done the best, just to kind of spread them out so they dry. So this shelf here, and this shelf over here are from the back of my bed. Looks like I might have a music there. So they're the ones that came up the best, from what I can tell, but they formed some of the smallest bulbs, and some of them don't feel like they have a lot of actual splitting to close. This one is split, even though it's quite small. It's like the size of my thumb. And last year's were almost so big, they were almost too big. You almost had to cut the cloves up. So I'm not really going to complain about the smaller. But so these, I didn't have very good success with these coming back up, but they grew really nice bulbs of garlic. So I'll get the name of those two varieties for you. And again, this, which I'm pretty sure is from my saved bulbs, they're split. They didn't hold their skins well, and they didn't grow that well for me. Lots of little bulbs in there, like my thumb. So I'm not sure. And those were from the batch that was so big I almost couldn't use them in my cooking. They're just such big cloves, I had to cut them up. So that's my garlic harvest for 2021. I will be going through these after they've dried. I'll kind of brush off the loose dirt. I'll trim the roots off, and I'll trim the stems down a bit once they've dried right back and yellowed off, and put them somewhere cool to store. I'll go through and find the nicest bulbs from the varieties I want to keep, the largest bulbs, and those I will use to replant for next year's harvest. Hopefully it's a better one. I won't be planting this much garlic next year. In fact, I think my mom's going to use some of this for her pickles. We kind of talked about it, so I think some of this will be going over to her place. So anyways, that's the garlic. I didn't bring you along for the harvest. We've had some really hot and humid weather. I don't know where the humidity is coming from here, but it's been really humid and really hot in the mid 30s Celsius, and then plus the humidity on top of that. We're just not used to that here, and I love the heat, but that was a bit much. So I harvested this in the evening a couple of days ago, And yesterday was too hot to be working out here, but today I want to get those potatoes done and in the ground so I can stop just watering those little containers and let them start really growing and filling out. So let's pop back over there and get that job done. Okay, so like I said, this bed is really sunk down in the middle here. So I want to just kind of level the soil out a little bit and then spread some steer manure on top. This is composted steer manure. I find potatoes do well being planted in it. It's gonna be a little tricky to do this because I have the drip lines in here, and then I have the zinnias and the marigolds, which I'm hoping to leave in here. So I'm gonna see if I can kind of slide the drip lines off from around the zinnias. I don't think they're actually in the marigolds, but try and get them slid off of here. I also have a pumpkin baby Jack, baby Pam. I have no idea what kind of pumpkin that is. I'll have to look. I do have a map of everything here, and I don't have that one labeled, so I'll have to look on my little map of things and see. But I'm gonna try and get this drip line moved, and then I'll try and kind of even out the soil a little bit, level it out, and then dump on however much of this steer manure I need. There's a purple martin house in the neighbor's yard just above this bed. So if you're wondering what all the birds are, that's what they are. And it appears to be lunchtime for the chicks in there. Purple martins are supposed to be really good for eating up mosquitoes, but I can see that one there has a dragonfly in its mouth, and dragonflies eat mosquitoes, so they need to eat the mosquitoes, not the dragonflies. But anyways, that's what all the commotion is if you're hearing it on my mic. So I think for whatever reason the soil in this bed was really piled up to the sides and lower in the bottom. And I think this is one of the beds I did trench composting in last year, so I think that's what happened, is it was really piled up on the sides, and then you know, what I had composted in the trench area had decomposed and sunk down in the middle, and it was sunk even more towards the front of the bed where you're sitting right now. So between that and the heavy layer of leaves that was on this bed, I think that's probably part of what made the garlic in that one area not grow as well, as I think there was even more leaves in that area when I'd pulled them off this spring a little bit. I use the leaves to mulch in the winter a little bit. And I use them all year to mulch. But I think maybe I just got a little bit heavy-handed with the leaves this year, or last fall. And I suspect that's probably what part of my problem was with the garlic. Now, we did also have a really up and down, freezing, thawing kind of winter, and even a really up and down, huge drastic changes in temperature through May and June this year. So I'm not sure if that's what affected the garlic or not, but whatever it was, it's done. The garlic is out, and it's time for these potatoes. So I put about 3 of those bags of steer manure in here. I think they were about 25, 30 liters, something like that. And that should be a nice top dressing. It's always good to replenish the soil, and it'll be good. The potatoes will like that as it gets watered, the soil gets watered. That'll leach back down through the soil. I haven't put my drip lines back on. I'll plant the potatoes and then I'll kind of run the lines back over. But I'm gonna get these potatoes in. So I've just spaced them. This is a 4-foot by 8-foot long bed. And I've just spaced them kind of a row down the middle and a row down each side. And I've left a little bit of room for that pumpkin. It was really shaded out by the garlic. So I don't know if it'll actually do anything, and now I've pulled garlic out around its roots too. So I'm not sure it'll really do anything, but I have left a little bit of room so it can get a little bit more light, and it has room to grow if it wants to. I have a trellis up behind that it'll go up if it does start to take off here, but I don't have high hopes for it. But I'm just gonna dig these potatoes in. I've spaced them about a foot, maybe 18 inches apart in some spots, but I didn't measure anything. I just kind of plunked them down. And I do have a couple more pots that are kind of multi-sown that I'll stick in after, but these are my main. I believe I put 1 seed potato. Some of them look like they might have 2 in them in these pots, and they were just really little tiny squishy guys. So we'll see how this goes. That's what it looks like when it comes out of the can. Lots of roots. I don't see any spuds on it, which is okay with me. And I'm putting them very deep. Well, I'd say that's pretty much an instant potato patch there. I'm not sure how much of that you saw. My phone, which I use for my camera, overheated. So I'm not sure what you caught of all that, but I mean, it was just taking these pre-spreaded potatoes that were in pots and putting them in the ground. I buried them probably that deep, so 18 to 24 inches, as much as I could get down there. Some of them probably aren't quite that deep. Some are definitely at that 18-inch mark. Most of them were just, I think, a single, maybe 2 very small seed potatoes in a pot. I had this patch here, which I think I had like 5 or 6 really, really little tiny ones. And then I had like a larger 6-pack tray, what you might get like larger bedding plants in. And so I had some that were just in like very small size cells, single potatoes. So I put those out. So there was 5 that were like that, and I have one there, oh, one here, one there, and one up there between the zinnias. So hopefully this works out and I get some potatoes out of these. These are Norland potato. I don't think I said that. So they're kind of a early to mid-season potato. I don't think that really totally matters here, other than how many days it takes to maturity. They don't really need to be hilled. They produce a nice large potato with pretty smooth skin, shallow eyes, red skin, white flesh, And I find them to be just a pretty good overall, good for multiple uses kind of potato that stores well. So it's one that I like, and they'll even stay in the ground well. So, right up until we get, heavy frosts and that, I can usually leave them in the ground and they don't resprout on me, and they do really well that way. So I'm just leaving the zinnias. These are Bennery's Giant, if anyone's wondering. Just beautiful. It's a mix, so there's oranges, pinks, yellows. I'm not sure what all I've gotten out of here so far, but it's a really nice mix. And like I said, there's the marigolds in the front and the pumpkin in the back. So all I've left to do now is just pop the drip back on, and I'll do that right away. And then these will be pretty much self-sufficient. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.